Welcome to Living with Purpose podcast, where you get to listen to our guests sharing their one golden nugget and also how they're living a life that goes beyond the focus of the self, the me, to the we, and the collective good. I want to remind our listeners that purpose is a renewable source of energy that continues to drive humanity forward. Purpose is the vital component of self and collective discovery that extends the common good. My guest today is Gene Boes. Gene is the CEO of Northwest Center, focuses on those individuals that have both physical and other disabilities. And how do you move them to the able world so that they can lead their lives fulfilling their purpose and contributing to the common good? Before joining the Northwest Center, Gene was at Microsoft and did some amazing things there. So I'm delighted to have and welcome Gene to our Living with Purpose podcast.
Well, Doctor, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So let's start off by just sharing with our guests today your golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you have collected on your journey.
Okay, for me, I think that there's actually two, but they're both really aligned with encouragement. And when you think of your purpose and the significance of what you're doing, as you described, this is about the we, not the I. And, the obstacles in front of us can get pretty daunting at times. And I think that the first nugget for me would be one, always remember to look to the left and look to the right. The context behind that is some days for me, it feels like I'm standing in front of the ocean with a spoon trying to empty the ocean. And it feels pretty lonely and pretty daunting. But when I look to the left and I look to the right and I see people like you, Akhtar, on both sides of me, all holding spoons, it's encouraging to know that, yes, the obstacle is significant, but we're all together in doing it. So the one nugget would be, for encouragement, would be always remember to look to the left and look to the right. I think the other one related to encouragement for me is about victories can be visible or invisible. And so when I think of the work that we do at Northwest Center, very often the victories are visible. I see the profound impact that our teams have on families, and that's incredibly encouraging. But there are also invisible victories that we don't see. And I think by way of encouragement, always remind yourself that those exist. So on the days where you might feel down or a little bit more oppressed by the challenges in front of you, always remember both the visible and the invisible victories that you're creating.
I just love it. I love this looking left, looking right. It's that you are essentially saying we are all in it together, and there is a whole village with you, supporting you. And this silent, I just love that because that's really what we need to inculcate, to recognize these silent victories, which you get every day, that actually leads to fulfillment and meaning and drives your purpose. So I love it. Thank you. Jane, so give us one example of how you are applying your purpose as a renewable source of energy for yourself to keep moving through tough times and good times.
Well, I think the way I could best articulate that is really sharing my personal why and the disability space. So for me, the purpose, when I think of my purpose, it's really to help create the inclusive world we all deserve. And that world is a world where everyone is allowed to engage and contribute. And I think for me, my daughter, Tori, is on the severe end of the autism spectrum. And the world is not what it needs to be for her. And for me, the commitment is I want the world that she deserves. But quite frankly, that's also the world that I deserve, that all of us deserve. And so as I lean into that and try to contribute to creating that world, I get to see the victories from Tori's eyes. Like as the world becomes more inclusive and starts to welcome her, I get to see that through her eyes and experience it with her. But I also know that as the world becomes better for her, it's becoming better for all of us. So for me, that commitment to that purpose, and again, the encouragement that comes with seeing progress, progress is profound for every individual that we allow to engage and feel included. Now you magnify that by the number of people on the planet. That for me is where the encouragement comes. That the progress is not just for Tori, it's progress for all of us.
This is fabulous. So you kind of just talked a little bit about the importance of purpose as it relates to your personal life and this amazing story of your daughter, Tori, but also talk a little bit about how that is showing up in your work that you're doing today.
I think the purpose piece, the way it shows up in the work at Northwest Center is that we have a commitment to creating that inclusive world by eliminating ableism and really working closely with the disability community. The way my purpose and I show up at work is to remind everyone else you have a purpose yourself. And I think that's a really important thing for people to think about is and many people quite frankly don't think about what is their purpose. But for 1,000 inclusion ambassadors that work at Northwest Center, they do have a purpose. There's a reason that they are there. So for me, it's encouraging them think about what that purpose is, and then know that again, the collective good that you're doing. When I talked about looking left and looking right, having people actually think about their purpose, and I ask them to do that every day when they come to work. There are days that are very difficult for all of us, and I think that commitment to purpose, and again, it's energizing and reinvigorating if we remind ourselves of that, particularly on the bad days, not just the good days where they're doing the amazing work that they do and they get to see those visible victories, but on the days when the victories are a little bit less visible, it's that reminding ourselves what our purpose is and what we're part of. Again, is a really important thing. So that for me, that's how it comes to life at Northwest Center. There's a lot of different roles and a lot of different activities, but it really does come down to that. It's the stay centered on your purpose and again, be encouraged every day, knowing that you're part of something that's we, as you described it. This is never about I or just us as individuals. It's about the collective good that we're all able to do when we do work together.
So, to end, if you had to give one piece of advice to our listeners around purpose and what it actually does to the individual, what would that be?
It's really oversimplified, but it's actually think about your purpose. Be really discerning and thoughtful about defining that for yourself. I think for me that I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about my purpose specifically until the challenges that my daughter lives through arrived into my life. So seeing those challenges is what really allowed me to spend the time thinking about it. But it's really that it's think about what your purpose is. That's a very personal thing that you have to define and you have to crystallize around it. But it's that spend the time to think about what your purpose is, because that is the way that you get energized and reinvigorated every day, is knowing that you know what that is and you're committed to it.
Gene, thank you very much. This is a great set of experiences, advice that you've given, your piece of wisdom. Again, remember, finding one's purpose is a lifelong journey. It evolves with life circumstances and priorities. Also, remember that individuals are not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be embraced. So, Gene, thank you very much. And again, tune in to another episode of Living with Purpose and join us on the www.purpose.mindset.org and share how you are living a life with purpose. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Does your company have a story to tell about purpose? Become a part of our book series. Visit onegoldennugget.com/living with purpose.